Half of all the children ever born did not live to see their 5th birthday. You did. A cake, candles, a phone filming it, the biggest danger in the room being too much sugar. That makes you something rare, the exception, not the rule. For 99% of all the generations of people who have ever lived, the first 5 years were the most dangerous years a person would ever face. And what those children were up against would barely look like a threat to you today. A scratch from a tree that would not heal, a parent who turned their back for an hour, one cold night, a hungry animal moving through the grass, a stranger at the edge of camp. Any one of them could take a child before it ever learned to speak. How those children survived anyway changes everything you think you know about how helpless a child really is, about what your body was built to do, and about what you can survive right now. And here is the part nobody tells you. The children who made it did not survive because they were protected. They survived because they were born armed. Every one of them arrived already carrying weapons, built by hundreds of thousands of years of children who did not make it. Those weapons are still in your body right now. You used at least one of them this year without noticing. This is what they were. Start with the threat that did most of the work: disease. A scratch no longer than your fingernail could take a child in under a week, and there was nothing anyone could do but watch. There were no antibiotics, no vaccines, no clean water. A sick child had exactly one thing standing between it and the infection: its own body. And the body had a weapon nobody fully understood until the 1970s. So, here is a strange question. Why would a body that is already sick choose to make itself feel even worse? In the 1970s, a physiologist named Matthew Kluger ran a set of experiments that overturned how we think about being sick. Fever is not the illness hurting you. Fever is the body attacking the illness. It raises your core temperature on purpose, heating you from the inside until the invaders, which only survive in a narrow band of warmth, begin to fail. Animals he stopped from running a fever were overwhelmed by infections that animals with a fever shrugged off. A small child can run a fever past 104 degrees, higher and faster than an adult, because a young immune system leans harder on this ancient trick. For hundreds of thousands of years, the child whose body lit a fast, hot fever cleared the infection that took the child whose body did not. You have felt this. The last time you were burning up under a blanket, miserable, waiting for it to pass, you were not failing. You were running the oldest weapon your species owns. Then there were the things that hunted them. For most of human history, you were not the top of the food chain, and your children were the easiest prey on it. In 1924, a fossil skull turned up in a quarry at Tong in South Africa. It belonged to a child who lived nearly 3 million years ago. For decades, people assumed nothing had hunted it. Then a scientist named Lee Berger took a closer look. He found puncture marks in the eye sockets and matched them exactly to the marks a modern eagle leaves in the skulls of the monkeys it eats. A bird of prey had taken that child off the ground and carried it into the air. The Tong child is one of the most famous fossils on Earth, and it is the oldest physical record of what used to hunt us. For most of human history, a small child was prey. Leopards, crocodiles, eagles, pythons, every one of them faster and hungrier than a toddler who could barely walk. A child who wandered off was a child that did not come back. So evolution wired the fear in before the child could think. Babies and toddlers who have never encountered a snake will pick a coiled, scaly shape out of a cluttered image faster than they pick out a flower. The fear of snakes, of spiders, of the dark, none of it is taught. It comes pre-installed. Ask yourself this: why are you afraid of the dark when nothing in the dark has ever actually hurt you? You still have it. The jolt at a coiled rope on a trail, half a second before your mind says it is only a rope. That is a program written by hundreds of thousands of years of children who were not quick enough to learn it the slow way. Then the planet itself tried to end them. Here is a number that should not be possible. Around 74,000 years ago, the entire human species may have shrunk to as few as 1,000 people, fewer than fit inside one small stadium today. And it nearly came from a single mountain. A volcano called Toba on the island of Sumatra erupted with a force the modern world has never witnessed. So much ash filled the sky that the sun dimmed for years. Temperatures fell, plants withered. Our entire species nearly ended in a winter that would not lift. In a famine, in a cold that does not break, the smallest bodies go first. A child loses heat faster than an adult. A child runs out of fuel faster than an adult. By every rule of biology, children should have been the first lost. Except human children come equipped for exactly this. Human newborns are the fattest babies of any animal on the planet, about 15% pure fat. That roll of softness on a healthy baby is not decoration. It is a fuel tank. On top of ordinary fat, infants carry a special tissue called brown fat that burns energy for one purpose: making heat. A human baby is, in a real sense, built to outlast a famine and a freeze that would take a leaner animal. That fuel tank is why your ancestors' children walked out of the volcanic winter when so much else did not. And the soft, round shape of every baby you have ever held is the same equipment, still standard issue, still carrying the smallest humans through the worst the planet can do. And then there was the most dangerous threat of all: other people. For a long time, we told ourselves that early humans lived in peace. The evidence says otherwise. Among the Ash of Paraguay, the anthropologist Kim Hill tracked what claimed the most lives across an entire population and found that violence, raids, ambushes, one group taking what another had, sat near the very top. And children were not spared. In a raid, a child was a target. Sometimes a child was the prize, carried off to be raised by the very group that had taken its family. A child who could not fight and could not run had one move left: disappear, go quiet, become invisible. And here is something you have watched with your own eyes and never questioned. Why does a happy, friendly baby suddenly scream the instant a stranger leans in? That is exactly what a human child's nervous system is built to do. At almost exactly 8 months old, in every human society ever studied, city or village, today or 10,000 years ago, a baby develops a sudden, intense fear of unfamiliar faces. It appears at the same age everywhere. Parents notice it overnight. The friendly infant who would go to anyone now screams when a stranger reaches in. We call it a phase. It is a weapon. For a baby in a world of raids, the unfamiliar face leaning over it was a genuine threat, and the instinct to recoil, to cling to the known face, to freeze and go silent, was the line between being noticed and being missed. You felt the other side of this yourself. The stranger who made you hide behind your mother's leg was not shyness. It was an alarm system hundreds of thousands of years old, deciding whether the new face was safe, exactly as it was built to. None of these were accidents the children were lucky enough to survive. Each threat arrived with its own weapon, loaded and ready before the child ever needed it. The fever, the fear, the fat. The instinct to vanish. A human child was never a helpless thing the world happened to spare. A human child was an arsenal. And that arsenal is still you. You are carrying the survival equipment of every child who made it through the sickness, through the predators, through a sky full of ash, through the worst that other humans could do. Not one of your ancestors broke the chain. Every single one of them survived their first 5 years against odds that took half the children around them. You are the proof that it worked. This matters for a reason that has nothing to do with history. When something in your life collapses, the job, the person, the plan, and the ground goes out from under you, a part of you will be certain you cannot survive it. That part is wrong, and your own body is the evidence. You come, without a single break, from people who walked out of volcanic winters and outlasted the dark. And they did not crawl out of those winters just to exist. They rebuilt. Every time the world broke them, they made the next one better than the one that nearly finished them. That is in you too. You are not only built to survive what happens to you, you are built to outlast it, then repair it, then make it better than it was before. So, here is the one thing worth keeping. The next time you are certain you cannot get through something, do not reach for motivation. Reach for the receipts. The fever, the fear, the fat, the instinct to survive, all of it is still in you, and all of it is proof. Adapting is not something you have to learn. It is something you already are. You are far more than you think you are, and you have been for hundreds of thousands of years. If you'd come back for another deep dive like this, subscribe. That's the signal we use to know it's worth doing. There is another one on the way, and it will be useful for you. See you there.